Hello everyone and welcome back once again to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Today we are going to be taking a look at the FSLTL Traffic Injection tool, which in my opinion is not only one of the best free traffic injection tools on the market, it's arguably the best quick setup, click and go if you will, traffic injection tools. We're en route now to JFK, and we're going to touch down there and take a look at some of the injected traffic, talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses of the tool, and obviously do quite a bit of plane spotting in the process. So I'll see you on the ground. Alrighty, on the ground now at JFK. Much lower frame rate, admittedly, but we will make do. And we'll go ahead and get parked up and see what's going on with some of these airplanes at the gate, as well as hopefully we'll get some traffic inbound on the approach as well as departures here pretty soon. And yeah, we'll get to that. I guess we'll start with an overview once we're parked, of course. Alright, our impromptu parking spot acquired. Let's take a look at some of the airplanes that we've got around at the terminal area. Immediately we've got this really interesting 787. I'm guessing it's from oh no, my geography is failing me. Israel. So some very nice diversity in aircraft type. Obviously you can see a 767 parked against a A320, next to a couple 787s, a CRJ 777 American. Oh no, that's a 777 over there. So I mean, good variety of airplanes all in all. The one thing I do want to mention is, while this does have an extensive variety of airplanes, you can see the A319 there as well, it's not 100% there. So one of the airplanes that this does lack, for example, is the A380, the Airbus A380, everyone's favorite big, huge, kind of a commercial failure, but we love to see it airplane. So originally what would happen with that, if you didn't have other flight models installed, would be you would just get a generic Asobo double-decker pointy nose garbage. You know what I'm talking about. You get one of those. Now, I have this working in conjunction with AIG, which is a another amazing freeware traffic injection tool. It just takes a lot to set up. So what it'll actually do is it'll go into its database first, pull all aircraft it can to match the real-time Flight Radar 24 data, and that's another really cool part, is this is almost to the minute accurate, even in some cases closer than a minute accurate for Flight Radar 24. And it'll pull those aircraft and actually match them to what's in the air, what's on the ground, what's taxiing, so on and so forth. You do not, as far as I know, you don't have the ability to do that with AIG. It's pre-planned flight routes from like 2018, 2019, which is still cool, don't get me wrong, but there is something really special about being able to see real live traffic in the area. Version 1.2 just dropped, and that's what we're using today. And one of the really nice things that adds actually is this toolbar up here. And previously, you actually had to go into a separate injection tool, which I'll pull up now. This is the injector for the sim, and it tells you, the time that it did it, the aircraft flight number, the aircraft type, the registration, and then its origin, that's O'Hare there, and then it's going to LaGuardia, and then it tells you the status of the airplane as well. So, removed out of range, landed at runway 4 left, taxiing to gate B39. So a lot of data there, which is cool. And initially, what you would have to do when you would first open the injector is you would have to set these settings here. And if you ever wanted to change those settings, you would have to go back into the injector and re-inject your traffic. Now it's available just in this slider over here, which is really cool. You can adjust it on the fly. I've got it pretty dialed to where I think I want it to be for this video. A nice balance between some really heavy traffic and playable frame rates. Although that's to be determined by you, the viewer. This is what I deem as floor-level playable. But again, you can adjust all of these in real time, and you can actually see your traffic increase and decrease in real time. As far as getting it installed, I recommend going to the AIG Traffic, or the AIG manager down here, the fly-by-wire installer. Geez, I'm losing it. The fly-by-wire installer, not AIG, although still a very nice tool, but we're using fly-by-wire today. And there's a separate tab here for FSLTL. Go ahead and install the base models, and then the injector, and then you can either tell it to run from here, or you can do what I do, which is I have it just on a quick, on my toolbar down here. That way I don't have to open the fly-by-wire installer every time that I want to open this. And that'll bring you to that there. And there's an F-35. Anyway, so I'm going to give it a little bit more time here to get some more airplanes inbound on the active. There were a couple of airplanes taxiing around, but they've already taken off. So we'll give it a little bit of time to get those going. I wanted to pick a slightly bigger airport, which is why I went with JFK, to get as much moving traffic as I could. Currently I'm failing, but we'll be back once we get a little bit more traffic. Actually, okay, well, you know what? Well, we will be back once we get more traffic, but I want to take a look at some of the other airplanes that are around and, you know, compare their realism to, you know, what you think. So like this Avianca A320neo over here, I'm going to guess this is the Asobo 320neo. And I do have an Avianca livery installed for the fly-by-wire. For the fly-by-wire A320. No, actually, this is one of their models. And you can tell just because it's slightly lower quality than what you would be flying in the sim. It's not bad. I do think the modeling looks better on this than in AIG. Again, this isn't a comparison video, but you get some really nice reflections and good lighting ground effects with these that you don't necessarily get with AIG. And all in all, I think the models, you know, if you get from like this distance back, which is realistically what you're going to be at in a cockpit, it's more than fine. Here, someone's taxiing over there, it sounds like. Let's go see what that's about. Oh, here, a jet engine. Oh, okay. Is it that guy out there? JetBlue A321neo. Very cool. So he's on his takeoff roll. I saw him taxiing out earlier. Oh, little freeze there. Another little freeze. Passing that SkyWest CRJ. There he goes. Into the sky. And it's really tempting sometimes. JetBlue E320. Non-Neo. It's got those nice Rolls-Royce engines on the underside. It's really tempting to almost just kind of sit in an airport, load your airplane in on the ground, get some really nice graphical settings, and then just watch airplanes from wherever you want. Because obviously nowadays plane spotting is a little bit difficult, those of you who do it. You know, we've got our secret places. I've got a secret place at O'Hare that really only me, a buddy, and probably a few other people know. The owner of the land, we've talked to him. He's cool with it as long as you don't cause any, you know, disturbances during business hours or anything like that. You know, kind of just park off to the side. But it's getting more difficult. And, you know, in a lot of cases, you know, let's say that I want to go and plane spot at San Francisco. That's a far, not San Francisco, LAX. That's a far away airport for me. And, you know, I wouldn't necessarily plan a trip to plane spot out there. You know, if I'm already out there, that's one thing. But, you know, a few hour drive versus a multi-day trip is a big thing. But in this, I can just load in at LAX, suffer at the awful frame rates I get in Flight Sim, but still watch some very cool airplanes. Here we've got an American 777 next to an Air France 777. So, looks like we are getting some, oh, he's going around. I think it's because of that CRJ. Where did he go? I think it's because of this guy. I could be wrong, but anyway, we will head over to the active here and take a look at some of the takeoffs, departures, and inevitable go-arounds as well of aircraft as they come and go a little bit closer up. Because spotting from a distance is cool, but this is the virtual world where we can just sit on the threshold if we want to and watch airplanes literally fly directly over our heads. So while we're out at the threshold for the current arrival runway, it would seem I actually didn't check ATIS, but this is where planes have been landing. I wanted to talk a little bit about the procedural generation and the update with version 1.2 with how air traffic is handled. So when you're on the ground, like we are now, I don't remember the exact percentage, but it's going to spawn more aircraft on the ground, and I think only 25% of the aircraft that you have selected out of that render number that you have up here. So if I open the toolbar again. So we're currently rendering 100 IFR and 30 VFR, which is, I think, still an experimental feature. But so out of those 130 airplanes, it's going to spawn most of them on the ground, which is what we would want. And a smaller portion are going to be up in the skies above us. In some cases, you can actually see contrails depending on the airplane, but I don't see any right now. Then once we hit 10,000 feet, it shifts and it starts spawning 50% of the airplanes you see in the air, and then 50% of the airplanes on the ground. And then once you hit 20,000 feet, it will shift again to 100% of the airplanes that you have rendering in spawning in the air, because at 20,000 feet, you're really not going to be looking at anything on the ground. That's really cool. I love seeing stuff like that, and I really applaud the devs' ability to work around Microsoft and Asobo's limitations with this sim. I know that's been a complaint of a lot of devs lately, so big ups to them. But anyway, we'll hang out here for a little bit. It feels like the winds have changed, or it sounds like they've changed. No, that windsock's still pretty much up and down. That's the other parallel runway there. So we should still be getting some airplanes on approach here, but we'll hang out till we do. That's part of plane spotting. There's little lulls in traffic every now and then it picks up, and then there's little lulls, and then it picks up. So we'll keep hanging out here until we see something cool. So another thing I want to look at is the delay for Flight Radar 24. So right now in front of us on screen in Flight Sim, we have Delta Airlines Flight 107 coming in from France to JFK. How do I know that? If I switch over to my screen here, I can see I've got a Airbus A330 that's matching the same arrival runway and that sort of thing. So right now you can see that that airplane is either on the ramp or holding short to come into the terminal, and we're only, I would say, I don't know, 45-ish, maybe a minute behind where that aircraft actually is in terms of its real-world position, then transmitted to Flight Radar 24, then transmitted to our sim in real time. That is next level, in my opinion, accuracy to the flights going on. And obviously we're missing a few different airplanes. It's like there's supposed to be an Endeavour Air, what is that, a CRJ behind it, you can see here. And I want to say that's just down to me not dialing in the full 200 aircraft. If I zoom out on the Flight Radar 24 map, you can see between all of the aircraft at JFK, all of the aircraft at LaGuardia, and what is that, Teterboro over there? No, that's Newark. Here's Teterboro. Between all of these, you've got well over 200 airplanes. So right now, American Airlines 189, which is a 767, should be on approach. But if I come... Oh, no, there it is. There it is. Look at. That's not the right airplane. It's a CRJ, but behind it, I think, is... one of those is a 767. I think both of those might be. No, one of them's a trip. But anyway, there goes the CRJ going around. Still waiting on sound to load in. This does have sounds. I had a huge bug with AIG. There's actually a fix for it that you can use. Not sure why that CRJ went around. I didn't see anything on the runway there. That could be the ATC and Flight Sim kind of messing up. So let's see. So that looks like a Delta Airlines 767. There's a Lufthansa 747. There we go. There's some sounds. There's some sounds for you. Oh, look at that. Guys, I could do this literally all day. I'm going to have to rein myself in here. And there's the trip on approach. Touchdown. Listen to those GE90s spool up in reverse. So I'm wondering if the trip got the landing clearance, because it looked like he was a little bit lower than the 767. I could be wrong. But anyway, what I was saying before is, so there should be a Lufthansa 747. Actually, he landed already, according to Flight Radar 24. He's supposed to be down there somewheres. But keeping in mind that, you know, we're a minute or so behind, there should be a Lufthansa 74. So it's not perfect. But again, that might be down to the limitations that I've set for the sim. I don't want it trying to draw 200 aircraft. That will absolutely kill the sim frame rate. Just because the processor's not up to it. It's doing a whole bunch of other crap. So we'll hang out, watch a few more airplanes, have any closing thoughts that I have, and end the video. So again, I just wanted to point out a small discrepancy that I found. And again, I understand this isn't going to be perfect, but I've got JetBlue 1601, which is currently holding short for a departing Japan Airlines. I don't know why I said that so weird. Japan Airlines flight, but because that Japan Airlines flight wasn't rendered on our sim, JetBlue is now taking the active, and he's going to go ahead and depart in his A321. And this might just be a limitation of the larger airports and having to kind of dial those numbers down a little bit to keep frame rates and whatnot happy. You know, if you're flying out of a regional airport, you very well might be able to just crank everything up to its maximum allowed limit. Sorry, I had to pause to let those CFM spool. Distinct Airbus growl as the A321. That's a 19. That's an A319. That's an A319, and it's got the Rolls-Royce engines. It's not a fully accurate model. Something else departing over there. There's a... Oh, there's our Lufthansa 74 I was waiting for. Look at that. It's just delayed, guys. Holy smokes. Anyway, he's going around. Might have still had that trip on the... No, I don't know. No, there's the trip. Looks like... Oh, my food's ready. I'll check back in once I pull my food out of the oven. Gotta stay fit and healthy. It's a frozen pizza. There's no up here. So one last thing I wanted to look at was, oh, you know, we've got a turn. Where are you? 767 Delta Airlines. This is what real plane spotting's like. You're looking at something and you hear an engine spool, you look. It's just a given, you look. Anyway, I want to look at two things, actually. I want to look at the aircraft handling on the ground, and then I also want to look at the lighting for the aircraft. So we've got this American 777 that just touched down. And again, not perfect textures, but I mean, it looks good enough, I think, is, oh, we're frozen. Come on. It looks good enough, I think, is the running theme that we can have here. I mean, you know, if I was setting up a scenic shot or something like this, I come back to, like, this distance. If I'm just doing some scenery, you're not really going to notice the crappy looking nose gear or, like, the kind of high polygons around some of the more complex edges on the fuselage, like up at the top there. You're not really going to notice that, especially if it's just a quick intro shot. So I also really like the fact that the nose gear actually turns when the aircraft is turning. It's not one-to-one, it's not perfect, but as far as my experience goes, in AIG the nose gear doesn't turn at all. So looks like that port side engine's having a little bit of a malfunction. You can see the right engine spinning nicely and the left is not. And then the other thing I want to look at, well, I've got this aircraft here in front of me, and we can go look at that other JetBlue, was that a ERJ-190 that just touched down? We'll look at him as well, but I want to look at the lighting at night. So let's make it night. Boom, and just like that, they instantly adjusted to the conditions. So you see he's got his nose light and his runway turnoffs on, as well as the logo light, and the airplane disappeared because I probably did. Oh, did the whole sim crash? No, it didn't. Well, anyway, you get the idea. Let's set it back to daytime. Probably shouldn't be doing any big time skips. It looks like all of my airplanes disappeared, so that's unfortunate. But anyway, we'll go ahead and close it out here. It'll give me a few extra frames or something. Oh no, the ground traffic's still here, so that's good. But anyway, I definitely recommend this. Just as far as the ease, I think the ease of setup alone outclasses AIG. As far as the traffic variety, you do get more variety in AIG, but at the same time, this is capable of using those same AIG models to inject. So you get the better core model library of FSLTL, and where FSLTL does fall short, it again can use either Asobo models or the AIG models to fill in the gaps, if you will. And this is not a done project. Like I said, this is version 1.2. So there's, I'm sure, plenty more updates to come in the future. Not a huge frame rate hit. I think it's slightly more CPU intensive than AIG for some people. For me, this is slightly less, but you're talking a matter of 3 to 5 frames per second, depending on where you are. And sometimes you don't even notice it if you're at a smaller airport. So anyway, that is going to do it for this video. I'm going to go finish up my lunch plans here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, take it easy.